So week 9 in CIT 28, and we are at that halfway point in the semester. And if I haven't mentioned it, which I think I have, at this point, because of an 18-week semester and the way that campus works, and if this is news to you, I just want you to understand, and if it's not, you'll go, yeah, I got this, Rio. Whichever way, is that if you intend to stay in this class. Now, why would you maybe not? Maybe your grade is not where you want. You don't see your life changing to get caught up. I do see students not quite utilizing the passes, and maybe they're just trying to save them away for later. But, those are also good things to use. Go back to the syllabus and check that. But this is the point. As of the Friday of this week 9, after that, you can no longer drop this course, okay, or withdrawal from it in that case. So I kind of started at the important dates, but I really should have started with Hong Dao is now officially our tutor. I know it's a little late in the semester. Sometimes things just take longer than we would like. His schedule is here, I believe, and he can confirm this out on Discord, and maybe I'll ask him out there, is that these hours he's also available via Zoom because they understand this is an online class. But you could also drop in to see him. So at this point, after you finish week 9, you're going to have the ability to schedule your technical interview. Now, just FYI, if you haven't heard me talk about the technical interview, I'm not sure where you've been. Okay, it's kind of a joke, but kind of not. I've been talking about it from the beginning of the semester. So it's a 30-minute session. You and I have to figure out a schedule. That's actually what the item in Canvas that's listed after is for. And I will have a video talking about that process. But what you can know as of right here, this date, is once you finish week 9, then that opens up for you to schedule into. And it is definitely something I recommend doing sooner rather than later. But you're basically coming in. I'll have a shared code space that you will get into. It won't be your code spaces that you're using. And I will give you, in this case, I think I've settled on 6 different things you'll have to accomplish. And basically, I'm going to say, here's the requirements, write a query or demonstrate some type of skill that we've learned in this class. And probably 3 of those will be around just queries, and then at least 2 of them will be around joins, and then probably 1 for setup. But what I'm thinking of doing this week at the end on our review is I think I'm going to go back and look at all the SQL we've learned and actually start having the reviews instead of just doing what we're currently doing, bringing in that the previous skills we've learned, the previous SQL. But anyway, it's coming at you here. All right, so SQL. So this week, you're going to be doing the dubious delivery. We're continuing on with the packages in a new problem, okay? Now you're going to be working with nested and joined. So where in the lost letter that you worked with static and subqueries, now we're doing subqueries, nested subqueries, and joins. Now, here's the deal. I don't require static queries for this one, but I still think they're a good thing to do because I think it helps you, and I talk about this here. It's not required, but it's recommended for helping you refactor using queries and joins. I think if you can solve it with a static query, you'll have a better idea of then how to implement when you go to use these to refactor into these other ones. Okay, changes to the proof of grading. The grading is the proof of effort is going to be a higher percentage, and that's because that's really where you're showing me the effort that you're taking. And if you're someone who looks at a problem, spends a couple of minutes on it, but then goes out to whichever Gen AI you use and gets an answer, your proof of effort is going to not be great, right? Because I should see a progression of thought and process in that. If somebody looked at my proof of effort when I'm writing these queries, it definitely would take several attempts. Like the one that you're going to watch for the graded part of this. It actually, I had to work on that because I was trying to also demonstrate a good way to reason about. But also, matter of fact, the one this week for dubious, I haven't done this one before. This is a new one for me, and I spent some time thinking about it and reasoning about. Okay, so your proof of work is worth more. And then one thing I wanted to talk about, actually two things. One thing, and I have opened my code space, and this is a subquery from before, but one of the techniques, and I'm not sure I've talked about this, but, and maybe you're already doing it, but when I'm writing a subquery, and maybe, and in this case, it's not that this query is not working, but maybe it's not producing what I want, is I break it into its individual pieces. Like I first will run this, right? And I will see what that outputs. And then I will then run this, right? So I will copy this into the terminal, look at what I have back, what comes back as a result of that query. And then I will run it as two queries, right? So your subquery and then your nested. So I go from the center and I move my way out because that helps me see where maybe that problem with the subquery is. And I just think that's a good way to think about it. Okay, so before we move on, I don't think I'm going to do a video specifically for the dubious delivery. But here is a dubious delivery. Basically, you're looking for, you handed a package off to reliable hands. So he's expecting it for a while, and yet it has appeared to grown wings and flown away. Any chance you can clarify the mystery? And here's the key statement. I'll just give you your hint right here. Is there is no from address. Okay? It's the kind of parcel that would add a bit of quack to someone's bath time, if you catch my drift. Okay? Now, again, you're not actually, and I'll go ahead and pull up the instruction, you're not actually doing what CS50 is asking you to do for the subquery, which is your nested subquery in this case, right? Here's the output I want you to have, and I even show you what the output would be, right? So you have to write your nested query. Again, your proof of work is way important here. Here's your new query file, right? And then you put a heading, and then making sure once you have working, that working, right? Now, by the way, if you don't have it working, your break is next. You can submit it. I will give you feedback. This is the benefit of the breaks, and I notice many of you are taking advantage of them. Okay, so here's your opportunity. Now, I won't give you the correct query, but what I will do is give you feedback, and you can even say in your submission, right, here's where I'm needing help. Okay, but either way, if you take the break, you can. So once you get and have worked on, right, and again, what I will look at here on your break, because on the breaks before you had to have coded along, here I'm going to look at your POE, because I want you to put in a level of effort here to attempt to solve this, okay? So now once you take the break, right, and you come back, finish this by Thursday, then you're going to write the join. Now the join really is the same output, but I've actually added just a little bit here. And so we've talked about how to do this. It's easier to add this type of additional output for joins versus subqueries, so I thought it'd be good to do that, right? So you have one nested query and one join query. And again, right, complete your POE and your proof of work and your get work, and here's your commit, okay? And then give me your history for that. And you can see here how those points have increased for your POE, your proof of effort. Okay, so that's that one. Now, for your graded work, you're going to go along with me, okay? And here's the setup, nothing new here. You're going to take your week 8, copy it into your week 9 query file, remove anything else, but keep the POW as the same. and then code along with me. And in here, I believe I end up giving you only 2 commits to do, but making sure you are doing the proof of work. And so the idea here is to give you a way of looking at what we did with the lost letter, but also doing something really important that it's good to understand, which is using an alias as an identifier versus a string literal like before. And I'll just tell you this on here. When you're looking at the output, right, these are aliases, right? So I've taken and then set those up as aliases as the content that I wanted. But in this case, in the code along, right, the live coding in this case, I'm not sure. Yeah, it should have been code along, but that's okay, right? So you will, and again, 70 points comes from doing this. So 15 for your from your thoughts on this refactor, and then replying to another student. Okay, all right. So this week, like I said, I'm probably not, unless somebody wants has a specific question, which I have always appreciated. Then your dubious delivery, there will be no video for that. You can take the break, and then, like I said, I think my next step is going to be, I have 2 steps now, which is I'm going to go back and look at having these reviews be more inclusive. And actually, probably what we'll do is continue to use the packages database. And then here, after you finish this, you will see the technical interview signups. Notice it's not until the 21st, and that's because that's the last point you can do it. But again, you'll be able to see that once you're done. And then in week 10, actually, I think we're going to do one more problem set within the relating. And then we'll actually, it may be 2, because really this content around relating is really really important to your SQL skill base. So I like focusing here. The one thing I want to leave you with is something I have heard recently that really resonated with me. Because in the age of AI, which we are all living right now, it is very tempting, and this kind of goes back to my beginning discussion about the technical interview and how you're actually going to have to code SQL in front of me. And if you're skipping the step of learning to actually reason about and having that skill base, yeah, it could be a challenge to do that. And that's not, of course, the experience I want for you to have. But also, it's a really human thing to want to problem solve. I know for me that even knowing I could go have ChatGPT or whatever I'm using give me an answer isn't satisfying anymore, because I like having the ability and I feel better. I actually feel quite invigorated when I get an answer. Now, do I have moments of frustration? Absolutely. And sometimes part of what you're doing is learning to be with that frustration, learning to let it be okay that you don't know, but that you're willing to think about it. Okay, my kitty cat's desiring attention right now. All right, have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon.